I'm really happy with how those turned out. I was really happy with our off-season participation and our monitoring kind of system. How you obviously can't be with these guys every day, and then with our young guys, they were in here. They pretty much live in here, in the off season, and that's part of it. I mean, we have this incredible roster, but we also need. We need the Luke Travers and the Jalen Tysons. We need those guys to come up and help us this year. So that was a big focus, but also on the major, our major pieces, helping them get better. So thrilled, and it just lasts from a personal level. I just didn't travel as much. Obviously, we get the ins and outs, but I wasn't kind of all over the place. So it helped me a little bit recover after a grueling season, and then I think that sets me up well for this season, having that requisite energy to carry this team forward.
And I know you don't want to look back, but you kind of have to in order to move forward at that series. What were the things that stuck out to you from a team standpoint that you guys need to be better at going forward, just overall?
Yeah, I mean, listen, we analyzed it. We talked about it a lot in the off season, and I think there's always tweaks. When you lose in the playoffs, what can we tweak? How can we help our processes get better in terms of improving this team? It was obviously emotionally tough on all of us, the whole organization. But listen, we're kind of here in like renewed energy, and because we know the talent we have, we know we're in that group of 6, 4 to 6 that have a chance at winning this thing. So excited. Hopefully, you'll see during the season what those tweaks are, how we're changing it up a bit. But I will make this statement: we're not reinventing this thing, because I think we've really created an identity, not only on court identity, but how we practice, how we develop, all of it. So we're going to double down on that, and then we do need to make some tweaks to how we play.
Chris Fedor, Cleveland.com.
Hey, Chris. Hey.
Kenny, for you first. So many of your players at the end of season wrap-up were talking about, for us, it's about the bigger picture. It's about winning in the playoffs. It's about winning a championship. It's not about the regular season, because we've had so much success in the regular season. What is your approach to this coming regular season, and how can you keep these guys engaged, knowing that they're thinking bigger?
Yeah, I mean, I think, right, from a coach's perspective, it's a little different. We still want to improve. We still want to approach the regular season with a winning mindset. That we're gonna keep our processes in place. We want to improve every day. And I don't know if you do that saying, hey, we're gonna take this game easy, or we're gonna take this week. It doesn't work that way. We continue our building blocks. We continue improving every day, and I think that's the mindset to get you over the hump in the playoffs. So I don't think we're gonna take our foot off the pedal, or there's going to be some strategy where we're just saying the heck with the regular season. Personally, I don't think it works that way.
And then Koby, for you, how would you characterize your approach to the off season, and why did you approach it that way?
Specifically to what, in terms of
to
acquisitions or okay?
Yeah.
I think for us, it's obviously doubling down on what we have and the players we have now, and how you supplement around that. I think the question will come is, how do you navigate this collective bargaining agreement and the restrictions that you have? But I think for us, we've set ourselves up for a runway with the guys that we have. And so tweaking, finding players on the margins, obviously adding Lonzo Ball and Larry Nance Jr. are huge additions to the roster. But in terms of like how we approached this offseason, I think was more getting with Kenny and saying, how do we continue to internally grow some of our best players? All the way down to the roster, I should say, because Craig Porter Jr. has been here the whole offseason as well. But how do we continue? Evan Mobley's had an incredible jump this year. He has more to grow, and we knew that. He knew that. He's been locked in. I've been almost more excited about our internal growth more than what we've done as a front office, if that makes sense. And so we're going to continue to focus on this group. Look, this group's had enormous success, to your point, and how do we get over that hump? It's going to come from those internal pieces that continue to grow.
Danny Cunningham, Locked on Cavs. As far as that internal growth goes, Koby, with Evan, where do you expect him on the floor to look different because of that?
A few ways, and I'll hand it over to Kenny. But we saw his growth offensively this year. Obviously, as an all-star, defensive player of the year. I think with Darius being out for a little bit, and we don't know what that looks like, we're going to see him handle the ball a little bit more. We're going to see him bring the ball up, initiate, play through him, out of the corners. Sorry, the elbows. He'll be a offensive hub of sorts. But if you watch him this off season, he's been locked in. He is really serious about taking that leap to being a top 5 player in the league. His work ethic, his character. Kenny spent a lot of time with him out there. His leadership too. He hosted a player-led mini camp in LA this off season, where most of his teammates were out in LA working out with him, and so he's grown. He's still 24 years old, but now he's becoming a grown man in terms of his body, his emotions, his maturity level, although he's always been super mature for his age. And so I think he's ready to take that next step. And, I've said it all the time, we go as he goes. As he continues to rise his level or elevate his level, our organization continues to grow. And we're super excited for him. But I think his leadership, his tenacity, he's been in Cleveland since mid-September, and so when you're one of your best players is leading that charge along with Donovan, we think we're going to be in good shape there.
And then you mentioned Darius's injury. Just where's he at in his recovery process? What's the plan for him getting back on the floor at what point this season?
So I think it's going to sound counterintuitive because he was hurt, but he had a really good offseason. Only because he focused on the things that we've been talking about for a long time with him, which is weight room, strength. And because he couldn't touch a basketball for a month, he had to just lift. And so he's stronger, he's more stout. He has a great attitude. I think he has his mental is in the right place. He's back on the court now. He's doing basketball activities now. The toe looks good. He feels good. And we're certainly not going to put a timetable on it, but he's going to start to participate, limited team activities in training camp, very limited. And I think for him, the biggest thing is how do we start to ramp him up from a conditioning standpoint? And that's not something that can happen in 2 weeks. So slowly ramping him up from a conditioning standpoint, but he looks good. He's joining us today back in Cleveland. He's been in Cleveland multiple times this summer. And I think he's had a really good offseason. From a strength perspective.
Terry Polito, Cleveland.com. Can you give an update on Strus a little bit? What kind of surgery they do? And then, Kenny, you got to tell us about these small forward stuff. You're supposed to fix all this stuff like right now.
About the what?
Small forward and just what you're going to do with that without Strus.
Oh.
So I wanted the medical on Strus and then the basketball with no Strus. So.
I thought we fixed that at the deadline with DeAndre Hunter, but anyway.
Yeah.
Well,
you guys love the positional stuff.
Max, unfortunately, off-season workout. Broke his foot. Had to have surgery on it. Not going to go too much more into the weeds on that. He's going to miss a few months, and when we get him back here. He'll still come down to Sarasota with us and probably better update after we spend some time with him there. But as you remember, we missed a significant part of the season with him to start last year as well. So we have enough talent, we have enough depth on this roster to assume that loss. I think we'll lose something from the leadership piece, but he'll still be around. I know he's probably more hurt than anybody that he can't compete from day one with us. But he'll come back, and this is a long run we're on, and he'll come back as soon as he can. But it's going to be a few months for
And
him.
for both of you, what about, they'll say no Garland for a while, and then whatever you say.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I want to, today talk about what the starting lineup is,
Right.
right? Like, we're going into a training camp, and obviously,
you looking at
we
for
want to
us?
compete. I mean, Terry, I'll just say right off top, DeAndre Hunter is, you could argue, has been our best player in the offseason. Like, he's had an incredible offseason, and that was, that was part of that offseason kind of goal for me, was to get to know DeAndre better and spend some time with him, a lot of time, and define his role more. So that's really a great news for us. But I you guys can figure it out. You can do the depth chart and all that. But I do think for a player's sake, we let camp play out, because Terry, a million things can happen in this league. So to kind of get in front of it today, I don't kind of feel comfortable doing
Is there
that.
somebody you're excited about that maybe isn't like a regular name for one of those?
Man, Jalen Tyson has been, we keep saying his NBA skills, how hard he plays every possession, and that's kind of like role players in this league, and he's a young guy, so he's still a role player. That's kind of what you have to do. So he's checking that box. I think he's had a phenomenal offseason. I'm really excited. That, I want the games to start now, so we can get a real feel where he is. But my gut says he's going to be a real contributor on this team.
Daryl Ryder, 92.3 The Fan.
Okay.
This is the second straight year you guys are going to IMG for camp. Just what did you take away from that experience last year? Obviously, it was positive enough for you to come back, and what do you hope that experience does as far as preparing the team for what you hope is a very long season?
Yeah, that was Kenny's first training camp, and it was, again, from day one of the start of that camp. We got Brandon Weems here and Michael Ganzi here. And I looked over to him, and I was like, we're gonna be pretty good. And I was literally from day one. And so the vibes coming out of that camp from Sarasota and Bradenton and IMG, we just felt really good going into the season. It was healthy. It's a 600-acre campus of straight sports and sports junkies and young athletes and student athletes that are training to get better. It just fit with sort of our culture. Everyone every day working to get better. You go into the training room or the weight room, and Donovan's lifting around other student athletes that are trying to get better in their respective sports. And there's a synergy there, and there's a community there of talented young student athletes, and it gives our guys some real energy. It's different, right? We know what the weather's going to look like in Cleveland right now. September was amazing, but when that blanket comes over, we'd like to get some sun, get some vitamin D while we're down in Sarasota, and really start the year off fresh. But we're fortunate. We have a chairman in Dan Gilbert that's willing to give us that luxury. It's really what it is. It's a luxury to go down to Florida and have training camp in Florida. So we're appreciative of that. But IMG is a tremendous facility and a great backdrop to start your season.
And for Kenny, Larry Nance is back, brought back this offseason. Just your thoughts on him returning and how he fits into what you hope to do with the team.
Listen, Mike, Koby, Brandon, they did a phenomenal job getting him on board. The guy obviously had options, to go to other teams. I know, he loves Cleveland and loves the Cavs, but it's not easy. So that was kind of a coup to me that we actually got him. I didn't think it was going to happen. I'm like, man, no way. He's just got really good options. And so when the news came through, I was like, oh man, because before he got hurt last year, he was having a phenomenal year. So obviously the vet presence, obviously corporate knowledge of kind of the organization and the city, that's important. And then he's a hell of a player, right? Like it's a luxury to have him, and obviously he can do it on both ends. I love that he had that uptick in 3-point shooting last year. Just the attempts, I think it was 6 a game. Like we want to continue that, continue to get him to do that, even though he's a heck of a playmaker. But man, the guy's in here at 8 o'clock every morning. You know, and we add another high character professional to our organization, and that's, you know, you talk about like, well, what's the tweaks going to be? What's the strategy? Like that to me is where you know you're talking about making another, you know, improvement to get over the hump that we want to get over. So great signing, thrilled, and I'll just, you know, just because I know it's going to, you know, you guys are going to ask, but Lonzo is kind of the second piece of that. Like I thought that was a phenomenal pickup. I just, you know, how many 6'6" point guards with his skill set on both ends. You know, add that to your roster. It's just, I mean, we hit it out of the park with our offseason moves. Credit to these guys, because that was part of my being here, observing how that all goes on and how we got to the point of getting these guys. So I'm excited. Those guys boost us to another level. It's just that simple.
Joe Reedy, Associated Press,
Hey, Joe.
nice job being prescient there since I'm going to ask about Lonzo. Just where is he at right now, especially since it wasn't an off-season where he's had to rehab and maybe concentrate on basketball and, you know, with condition physically, where's he at the moment?
Do you want me to answer that,
Go
or
ahead,
you
Brett.
want to answer it? Yeah. I mean, he was in here yesterday. He hooped yesterday. Looked great. You know, with his history, we obviously have to have a smart plan in place, right? You know, but I do think he had some bad luck, right? Last year he had the wrist. Like that's kind of not. That's just a bad luck thing. So you know, we are. You know, Steve and his group and our performance group, that's going to be a big part of it, you know, preparing his body, getting a good plan in place. And at the end of the day, we need that guy healthy for the playoffs, and because he's a heck of a player. And I don't, not sure, you know, you guys know how good he is defensively. That's what really excites me. I mean, high steal guy. He's a guy to get 3 steals in 10 minutes. You know, really great feel on the defensive end and a heck of a defensive competitor. So really excited about that. Then, you know, we had the second best offense in the league. Like with this guy, like he just adds, like he fits what we do to a T. And I think he'll add a lot. And I just love his character, man. He's low key, wants to hoop, and already I can see he's made 2 suggestions already to the coaching staff. I'm like, yes and yes. But you don't think of, right? We don't think of everything. And you know, we're going to get that IQ part too from a guy that's you know, has seen it all in the league. So I want to go crazy here, like, but I'm like over the top excited about how he's going to fit in with the group.
Just the suggestions, are they in terms of practice schedule or strategy?
Strategy. One was an offensive suggestion, and one on the defensive end. And you know, there's just certain guys as a coach you lean on, right? Darius, I lean on Daradana. You know, starting more with Evan, but these guys are out there and they feel it and they see it. And plus, he's had great experiences in the league with good coaches. They always bring something. I'm going to lean on him this year. I've already told him that. It's already been a good back and forth. You need that with your point guards. You gotta have that relationship.
Mike Lucas, Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Kenny, you talked about players making jumps from year 1 to year 2, teams making a jump, but the same coaching staff. But from a staff perspective, I know you guys lost Jordan and changed G League coaches. How does a staff improve from 1 year to the next when they're together for that long?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm glad you brought that up. I mean, I think that's part of my role is staff development, and you know, with the support of Koby and the front office, We did kind of make an intentional choice of much like our roster, relying on continuity, and we obviously lost some key members. We brought in Jawad Williams, everybody knows, another local guy, and I shouldn't probably talk about it. He's been phenomenal. I haven't even told you that. He's been like a home run. And we, all of us, Brandon, Mike, Kobe, we have a lot of discussions about these moves because it's so important. We also talk to the players. Hey, what do you guys think? How we should approach this? But part of my job is developing this staff, helping them grow, and I'm just kind of thrilled with Jawad, and we obviously brought in a new G League coach, Eli, who's been fantastic too. So it's part of the program building, and that part excites me, excites all of us because they know how important it is. So I appreciate you asking about it.
And then for both of you guys, obviously we know how last season ended, and we look at the Eastern Conference, no Tatum, no Halliburton. With the expectations you guys have within this building for yourselves, is there kind of a feeling of pressure knowing that this could be the best opportunity for you guys to break through and make the NBA Finals, win the NBA championship?
Yeah, I wouldn't say best opportunity because I feel like we're going to have multiple bites at this apple. Right, and so injuries aside, I hope everybody's healthy. I hate that we see these injuries happening in the NBA because it happens to us, and it's not so funny when it's you. And so, last year when those guys were healthy, we still felt like we had a great chance. Even more so this year after another year of adversity, another year of building. I'll say this, the last 3 years, we've had the third best record in the NBA. Third to Boston and OKC. And so I just urge, everyone here, and we know this internally, don't take this run for granted. Don't take this group for granted. Winning is extremely hard in this NBA, especially with the parity, with the new CBA, the competition level, the talent level coming into this league. It's extraordinarily hard to win in this league. And this group continues to do it night in, night out, season after season, and set ourselves up. To your question about urgency, there's urgency in everything we do. And it's a broad term. We try to put the wins and losses to the side. What we're urgently looking at is on the margins. How can we improve on the margins from the roster to our offense to our defense, even at the front office level. I think we do a great job of finding undervalued talent. 7 out of the 15 roster spots that we have under contract now are either undrafted or second-round picks. And so that's a testament to the front office, really searching across the globe to continue to supplement this group, this core group, with talent so we can continue this run. So the urgency is always there. When you have a chairman and Dan Gilbert that's putting that pressure on you, it's good pressure, right? We live for this. We want to be in this moment where the expectation is finals, championship. That's where we want to live. And putting the landscape of injuries aside, we're going to compete for a championship this year, regardless, and next year and the year after. And that's what we're setting ourselves up for. And so the urgency is in the processes. And how do we get better in the process, and the results will follow.
Jimmy Watkins, Cleveland.com. Kenny, to a man at exit interviews last year, the guys were saying we need to get tougher. What is your role in that process, getting tougher?
Listen, I don't know what your definition of tough is, because I think we're extremely competitive. We're one of the most competitive teams in the league. I think we're tough enough. Personally, I think we're competitive enough. But it's all the stuff that Kobe's talking about. It's so multifaceted where we have to get better. But I like our toughness. I like our makeup. I like our identity. I love our leadership. And players have their thing, right? But from my perspective, we kind of have what we need to compete for this championship from a character makeup.
And we talked a lot. You guys have alluded to Evan's summer, how he's had a big summer. What does that kind of look like? What is the next step for him, you think?
Well, first of all, you'll notice how much stronger he's gotten. And this is the natural like 23 to 24 and like Koby talked about his maturity, his makeup. You just feel it, right? And you just sense that he's ready to make another jump. The seriousness in which he approaches offseason from a body perspective and then from a basketball perspective, he's different. I don't know how to exactly define that, but I feel like there's a confidence brewing here that maybe we haven't seen before. And he was a confident player last year because he affects winning, right? He knows he can win in this league, but there's almost like I feel like there's another another level coming, I love that it started with his body. He knew he had to get stronger, and I think you're going to see that kind of when the season starts.
Cameron Justice, News 5 Cleveland. You guys talked a little bit about DeAndre Hunter's role, but how much and in what ways can a full summer and even the start of a regular season help unlock some of the things that you want to see from him, showcase his fit, and is there more to unlock from him as this season goes on?
Thank you for the question, Cameron, and thanks for covering our local stuff, our community stuff. It's been really impactful for you to cover our guys locally and in the community, so thank you for that. DeAndre joined us when we were in the middle of a 14-game win streak, which is hard, right? We were rolling. He wanted to come in and fit in. He didn't want to detract. We were getting to know him. We didn't realize how multifaceted he is offensively. And so as he's trying to fit in, space the corner, a few plays run for him, but us realizing how much more he has to elevate this group, both sides of the ball. And just as a human being, right, you get traded mid-season, and it's not mid-season. Trade deadline is almost, you're 50 games in, and there's 30 games left. It's not even 40 games. It's 30 games left. You're uprooted a little bit. He has a young kid. He's moving to Cleveland. He wanted to. He was happy to come, but you're living out of a hotel. You don't have your foundation set. You don't have a routine yet. And so him spending a lot of time in Cleveland this offseason, learning the community, being in the gym, being around his teammates. He loves it here, and now he has a foundation of what's going to be the whole summer, training camp, and then coming to a team that really needs him, And so I'll let Coach talk about the basketball side, but it's really an underrated story in terms of how much DeAndre Hunter is going to put his stamp on this season, and we're super excited about him.
I mean, just think about an incredible start out of the gate when he came to us. I don't know how long that went on. He was phenomenal. A little bit of a lull. I think that was, trying to get adjusted to getting traded and getting apart, all that stuff. And I don't know, the Miami series, maybe you guys could, but he was one of our best players. So, he was unbelievable in that first round series. I mean, incredible. And then watching him out here in the offseason, I'm just, I'm sitting next to these guys. I'm like, this guy is so talented. He's great size, shoots the heck out of the ball, can get you a bucket in different areas. So for me, what I really tried to do this is just build the relationship with him. Build that bond, and I didn't get to do that last year. And that was probably, you have regrets or you look back on it and see, man, I could have done a better job there. Well, this summer I was really, I thought that was really important. And through those conversations, through building that relationship, we've talked about what is that going to look like tactically? Where are we going to get you the ball? Where do you like the ball? Hey, I like it, here, or I like this action. And that was kind of my beginning state. Where are the tweaks? What are the tweaks we're going to do? We're definitely going to make some tweaks. And some of that is geared towards him to put him in a better position. But again, I don't know. I think statistically, he had an incredible year for us. But I know there's more in there. I'm excited to see his growth this year.
You guys mentioned getting over the hump. So many guys at the end of the season talked about that they needed the experience and losing in that way to maybe instill a little bit more hunger, not just toughness, but the hunger to do it. Do you agree with needing that experience? And are there indicators as you get into the season, even in training camp, that show you that they have embodied that there is a chance for them to take that experience and carry it over?
I mean, it certainly hurt to lose in the second round last year. They're all, at the end of the day, taking a step back, they're all great experiences in terms of adversity. To be this young and being at this level, our core fours at average age of 26.5, right? And we have them under contract for multiple years to come. And so they're going to face more adversity, right? They're going to face more setbacks, and it's only going to make them stronger. I do think that, and Coach speak that this summer, there's been more intention. The hard work with a perspective has been different. Donovan Mitchell has been just a tremendous teammate and leader for this organization. But we're kind of trying to hold him back from himself right now, right? He's in mid-season form right now, and we need him peaking at the end of the season. He's been very intentional about how he wants to, condition his body to be ready for this run. And at 29 years old, coming off the best year of his career, he's ready to make that leap. He's hungry. He's dying to make that next jump in his career. But he's doing it with actions. He's intentional. And like I said, with the perspective and the adversity we've been through, it's been a really, really positive offseason, and it's leading to Cleveland now. They've been in Cleveland since mid-September, which is very unique for a group of this caliber.
Tony Pesta, Fear the Sword. This question's for Kenny. You mentioned the team's identity earlier. Could you talk more about what exactly that identity is, both on offense and defense?
I mean, obviously offensively we wanted to increase our pace and really, see if we could, get out and transition more. I think we're top 2 in transition efficiency, so that was mission accomplished. I think being more intentional about getting Evan the ball and spreading the wealth a little more in terms of thinking about what leads to playoff success. And we can still do a better job with that. And I think you'll see, especially with Darius out, like Koby said, we got to keep moving that way. And obviously we had an offensive rebound, extra possession mentality, which I was thrilled about. We gave ourselves a real chance and a real chance in the playoffs because we were getting extra possessions. Listen, our defensive identity starts with our defensive player of the year. And Evan, and is backed up by Jared Allen. Always, are two kind of linchpins on the defensive side. I do think we can make progress there, though. I think we can be a more active team. I think we can be a little more aggressive team. Again, talking about the possession games, creating more turnovers. So I do think you'll see a kind of a added level of intensity defensively. But we have a great system in place. And again, these are tweaks and not like wholesale changes, because I've seen that happen where we lost to this, we got to change everything, and then that could go to, that can end up hurting you. So, but again, it really starts with our best players, and that's what good coaches do. I think they plan your system and your identity around your best players, and I feel like we're in a really good place with that.
And then this question's for Koby. You've had the same core group essentially for a while now. What are you hoping to learn this season from them? Is there anything new you're looking for?
Yeah, I think each year the core 4 grows. Even though we're particularly young, we've had a lot of experience. And so obviously we want to see Evan take another jump. We want Darius to get healthy. He had the best year of his career. last year, most efficient year of his career. Same thing with Donovan. And like I said before, that core group is 26.5. If I thought they were done growing, then we would look to do something. But when you have a group that talented, that young, and under team control, we're handing it off to the coaching staff and say, continue to grow these guys, continue to elevate their careers respectively. They bring tremendous character to this building. These are 3 guys that signed extensions, 4 guys that signed extensions, I should say, to be in Cleveland for the long term. We were one of the only teams in the NBA to have 3 All-Stars. And so I'm not breaking that up. This is something you want to stick with. And like I said, don't take this for granted. This is a special group. This is a special era. And we hope to encapsulate that with some real playoff success and a championship to come. But, this group has accomplished a lot. And they're still young and hungry and still growing.
Jason Lloyd, The Athletic. Koby, when we talk about injuries, I know you guys study injuries closely. I'm just wondering what you make of all of the injuries across the league, particularly Achilles injuries, if you guys have found a common thread or if you have any theories as to why we've seen an uptick.
It's a great question, Jason. I think the league just did a study, and they came away with that there is no trend. But I beg to differ. I think there's a lot of complexities there. And I think there's a few things that we have to be very mindful of as a staff is the amount of meaningful games, and I say meaningful, they're all meaningful, but games that put more pressure on players. And so if that's the in-season tournament, the Emirates Cup, if you will, those 4 or 5 games to get to that cup or get to that quarterfinal, those are playoff intensity level games. And we're not going to tell our guys to slow down in those games either. And so the minutes go up, the load goes up, and so that's the front end of your season. So you're starting with a higher load there. You're competing after the All-Star break for playoff position. And I think what gets missed is the top 6 teams are fighting to stay in that top 6 so you don't have to play in the play-in. And then the bottom 4 or 6 teams that are competing for the play-in are in a mad sprint towards the end of the season, and every single game towards the end of the season is playoff level to stay into that play-in game. And so over the course of 82 games, there's a lot more higher load. The other thing that we study is, the last 5 years, they say scoring goes up, three-pointers goes up, but possessions have gone up. And so it's not the same as the 1980s and the 70s, in the 90s. There's just more possessions, which means more sprints and more miles run and more cuts and movement for players that we put a lot of responsibility on. So I think all of that collectively has potentially led to more injuries. We, I thought, did an amazing job last year sort of navigating that 82-game schedule. And we're unlucky the last 10 days of the season, essentially. So it goes, but we're still studying it. We're still looking at it. I think the thing that I love about Kenny is he's not afraid to use his bench. And it helps us. It develops us. It gives our top-tier front-end guys a little rest during the season. But it's going to help us in the long term. Because as you know, this is a really restrictive salary cap era we're in. And so you have to, those end-of-bench roster young guys have to eventually evolve and grow and become mainstays as rotational players. Because you can't continue to roll out Donovan Mitchell for 38 minutes a night. It's just not sustainable for him. And so we have to see the young guys continue to progress and get better. But I wish I had the answer. Everyone's trying to study it. Everyone's trying to figure it out. There's no particular way. I wish I had the answer for you, but I do know that the intensity, the possessions, and the load on players' bodies has gone up dramatically in the last five years.
You may just answer it yourself, but Donovan specifically has had calf injuries now the last couple of years, and we know calf leads to Achilles. So what, is that just bad luck on the timing on his injuries the last couple of years, or have you guys studied that in terms of him specifically to try and avoid that in the future?
It's a good question. I think with Donovan specifically, he played, I believe, 70-plus games last year, which was the most for us. I think the second most in his career. I think we have him on a really good plan. And the last few years, obviously, the calf strain against Boston was devastating because it took him out. This past year, I knew he was dealing with some soreness, but he still was able to play. I think everyone's dealing with soreness and something ailing in the playoffs, and he would have continued on. But the plan in place for him is really good. I think he's keenly aware of his body, especially this offseason, how he's going to try to have this marathon. We want to play into June, and so I think he's very cognizant of what he needs to do to be his best when it matters.
Jeff Shudell, News Herald. Kenny, I hear you say what you said about the toughness of your team, but Jared Allen, fair or unfair, he's the one that drew the most criticism, and he was hard on himself after the losing in the playoffs. So what can you do to get more out of him, especially in the playoffs?
Yeah, I think we have to, first of all, I do think the criticism was unfair because he's a heck of a player and a vital piece. He's part of our core four. I do think that was one of the off-season kind of deep dives. How can we use him better? How can we take advantage of him? When a team goes 5 out, whether it's on the offensive end or defensive end. So I'm not going to get into the specifics, but I always, when you have a player that good and that talented, it's on us as coaches to help them. So I do think you'll see some shifts there on how we use them. Not radical by any means, because we really want to lean on his strengths, but we can help Jared. Especially when you're talking about these 5-out teams that can hurt you. But he has all the ability to execute any coverage we want. We just got to figure out what the best thing is for him.
So has he gotten bigger and stronger? I mean, he's not young. He's young, but not 42.
We played 82 straight games last year. You got to have some resilience to do that. He played every single playoff game last year. 5 double-doubles in the playoffs. Look, I think everyone wished that they had the Indiana series back, right? Including missing our all-star point guard. And give Indiana credit. They incredible run, led by Coach Carlisle. There's also, they knew we were down a point guard. And so picking up 94 feet, stretching the floor was a great strategy, and it hurt us. And I wish we had our all-star point guard for that series. I think that was, to me, one of the bigger takeaways is not having that ball handling against that pressure. And so, look, Jared is a great player. He's been to the All-Star game. He's been a mainstay. He's the reason we have the defense we have. And so to just, point to him, I think is unfair.
Yeah.
I didn't know you knew my name. All right. If it was Gabby, I go by Gab. You got it. Gab Cruz, Big Play Sports Network. Good to see you guys. I just had a quick question back for DeAndre Hunter. You're valuing that relationship building, as you pointed out. Is there anything about his personality that kind of stuck out, or about his work ethic? I know he mentioned he's a self-proclaimed introvert, and there is a dance to getting to gel with each player. So I was curious.
Yeah, he's an introvert, and I think again that's part of our job, right? To figure how you create that relationship depending on the player's personality. But I think he's someone you really got to build his trust, right? And that's probably the most important thing I've seen from him, and it takes that takes time. And I'm not saying we're there yet, right? I think this is an ongoing process but I feel really good that kind of we've made a big jump, and not just me, just the whole coaching staff, right? It's not just the head coach, because those interactions are important. How's he talking to Mike Garrity? Is he, how's he relating to Trevor? It's all connected, and like I said, we got to keep building the trust and building our credibility. I think most of it we got to prove ourselves to him. And I'm like I said, I think we've made some real progress this offseason.
And then with Darius, we've pointed out the average age of this team is still pretty young, youthful guys here, and he is a leader. He's a leader. But also, what about expectations? I know at the end of last year, in the thick of it, you were like, I need my most mature Darius Garland right now. What are your expectations for him this season, healthy, and how will you measure that?
You want to take it or?
Talk about Darius, because he continues to grow and mature under you, and his voice has grown. He's been a mainstay, right? He's been a part of this evolution of Cavaliers basketball, and so he has a lot of equity here, and his voice matters, and his teammates love him. And so I just, from when we drafted him until now, he's 25, right? It seems like he's been here forever. He's still 25. To see his maturity grow, to have like a perspective on this injury, knowing it's not taking him out for a long period of time, and what he needs to do to get ready for this season. He's ready. He's ready. I think he's ready to have real playoff success, and he was on his way to doing that before the toe. So, Coach was a point guard, at Richmond and back in his day, and so when he was interviewing for the job, he loved Darius. He loves the player, loves the person, and under his tutelage, got Darius back to the All-Star level. And so there's a lot of trust there, which is great. And we're going to continue to see him grow.
Yeah, I have a grejust relationship with him. I mean, I don't know, it's a point guard thing. He's like, coaches have their pets. Like he's one of my, I just enjoy him. I love how he plays. I love he's pure point guard, but can get you 40. But he knows we're challenging him, right? He's got to get better physically. I keep, telling him about the Steph evolution, how Steph just got stronger and stronger and kept improving his body. And I think, like Koby said, I think this injury might be a blessing in disguise, because I know he's really paid attention to the strength part, so that's his next step. But I just, like I said, I have a great relationship with him. He's got great relationship with his teammates, and that's our job, right? He's got to take that next jump for us to get over the hump.
Eden Sands, Cleveland.com. You guys have both mentioned the acquisitions that you've made this offseason, but also the internal development that you guys have had. One of those is re-signing Sam Merrill to a contract extension for this coming season and for the future. But also in conjunction with that was the loss of Ty Jerome this offseason. Could you go into the decision for that and how that came about?
So losing Ty is a tough loss, and we obviously wish Ty nothing but the best. He's a friend of mine, and I'm excited for his future in Memphis. If you look back at last year, essentially, Sam Merrill and Ty Jerome were playing on minimum contracts, essentially. And in this salary cap era, you can't keep everybody. It's really difficult, and especially the way Kenny coaches. He grows internally, he grows from within, and he unearths talent that you have on your roster. And because of that, they become more valuable in the marketplace, and so it's really hard to keep everyone. Sam provides a different skill set. It's really, really hard to find. We will miss the playmaking of Ty, but I do think that we'll be able to assume that from other pieces that we have on the roster. But the movement shooting, the competitiveness, the toughness of Sam, he's such a cultural piece. Drafted 60th overall, goes to the G League. We pick him up as a unsigned free agent. He hits 10 threes, and then John Nichols was like, we probably need to sign him to a two-way just to keep him off the streets, And so we did that, and now he's grown through our system, and he's a mainstay in the rotation. And so that's a success story, right, of finding these undervalued talents and then growing them and then handing them off to a head coach that believes in them. And so you have to make difficult decisions in this salary cap era. It's really difficult, but we feel really good about Sam, and then adding Lonzo to supplement our backcourt depth. was a big part of that. And so we're excited about Lonzo moving forward. But yeah, these are difficult decisions and not easy.
And Kenny, obviously you talked a lot about the offense throughout today's press conference, but also you've mentioned in the past that this is a defense-first team. Do you still believe that you guys are a defense-first team going into this next season, or are you a mixture of both, or is it an even ground?
I think balance wins. You know, you want to be, statistically, you want to be top 10 in offensive efficiency and defensive efficiency. Once you do that, you know, you're in the conversation to be the best team in the league. So we are that. Listen, but we're always challenging ourselves. We want to make another jump in both areas. You know, but I feel good where we're at. Like I said, I do like we had Lonzo. You know, Lonzo's defensive piece. Obviously losing Ice. We got Lonzo, and then obviously Larry's been a really good defensive player his whole career. So that gives me really excited about that. For our defense. But you got to be great on both ends to have a chance at this thing.
Okay, it's going to wrap for us, everybody. Thanks for coming out.
Thank you, everybody. We appreciate it.
Thanks, everybody.